Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to saxophonist Mindi Abair, fresh off her American Idol performances alongside Paul McDonald and Casey Abrams. Stick around. This girl can wail. The show is brought to you today by Audible. Audible is offering Mr. Media listeners a free audiobook download and a 14-day trial offer to give you a chance to check out their very cool service. I love listening to books on tape. If you've never tried it before, actors or sometimes the authors themselves read to you. It's great for the commute, the beach, or even unwinding before bed. You can choose a free audiobook from Audible's enormous library of titles, including today's top American Idol-related bestsellers, such as A Hell of a High Note, Surviving Life, Love, and American Idol by Cara DioGuardi, or Learning to Sing, Hearing the Music in Your Life by Clay Aiken, or even Does the Noise in My Head Bother You by Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. You can even download Will Eisner, A Spirited Life, the biography of the comic book and graphic novel legend, which I wrote and will read to you personally. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience that includes Clarence Big Man Clemons, David Sanborn, and the ghosts of Charlie Parker and John Coltrane in the new media capital of the world and birthplace of Mindi Abair, St. Petersburg, Florida. Not everyone took saxophone player Mindi Abair's path to being a guest on Mr. Media. Most get booked through a publicist, quite honestly. I get a note or a phone call saying, "Hey, have you ever heard of..." something like that. Now, I consider each one carefully and invite only the men and women who strike a real chord with me. But in Mindy's case, I received an email from someone whom I trust without question, her Aunt Becky James. Becky has been transcribing audio interviews for me for the last 2 decades. She probably knows things about me from those recordings that even my wife doesn't, and bless her, she'll take those stories to the grave. Anyway, one day she sent a note saying, "You should have my niece, Mindi, on your show. She's a saxophone player." How do you handle that? I don't know. But then I did a little homework. Mindi Abair is an outstanding saxophone player, one of the most talented individuals of her generation on her instrument. And if you don't want to believe me, or Aunt Becky, you should have seen her recent appearances on American Idol, first blowing away the audience and the judges alongside contestant Paul McDonald on Bob Seger's Old Time Rock and Roll. And she returned a few weeks later to accompany another singer on the show, Casey Abrams. Oh, and she was just named Best International Instrumentalist at the Wave Awards in Toronto. And another thing, Mindi was featured on the front page of Yahoo Music as their lead story the day after the first American Idol feature. By the end of the day, the mystery saxophonist had received 3 million clickthroughs. That's the story. Now, what can I say? Aunt Becky knows her saxophone stuff. Mindi Abair, welcome to Mr. Media.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
My Aunt Becky is now my new publicist.
She did a
I'll have to have her hook me up with more.
It'd be interesting to find out who else she knows now, right?
Yeah, right.
So we were talking right before the show started. You're from St. Petersburg, where I am, where the show is, where Aunt Becky originally was. And I didn't realize, I'm embarrassed to find out, you were here a couple weeks ago and you did the town red.
I came home. It was so great to be home. I had one day off, and I spent it at the beach with, me and the seagulls and trying to get a tan. It was great. But yeah, I did a lot. Played the national anthem for the Rays game, which we won. I love that. When you play the national anthem for, your home team, you want them to win. You want to be, a good luck charm. Mm-hmm. And we did a bunch of, TV. Charlie Belcher has always been great to me. He had me on Fox 13, and Ted Webb's an old friend of my dad's from way back in the day, and so I went on Jack and Ted in the morning and did a bunch of stuff. It was great.
Oh, boy, and that makes me feel old. Jack and Ted are old friends of mine, and I hadn't thought about that. That'd be a whole other generation that would be saying that about their... Okay, never mind. Let's move on. Wow.
it's just nice to be home, nice to bring my band home and, play for my dad's friends, my friends, everything,
That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. And it's nice that you get that respect, being a local girl, being able to come home, and you're in good company. We just read today that another St. Pete talent, actor Patrick Wilson, just landed a show on CBS today. So it's a good day for the St. Petersburg kids.
It is. It's funny. St. Pete wasn't known as the mecca of art and music or film, but I think we're changing that perception. It's cool. The new Dolly Museum is so spectacular, and I don't know, we've got Ruth Eckerd Hall and Capitol Theater and a lot of great music venues that are attracting a lot of people, and I don't know, a lot of very talented people, whether actors or musicians, are coming out of there. So I'm happy to be in really good company.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
Oh, I should mention, I just thought of another one. Monica Raymond, who's been on Fox's Lie to Me the last 3 seasons, another St. Petersburg talent.
And one of my friend's daughters, she just turned 16. She just got an ABC show that isn't on yet. They just did a pilot. So she's born and raised in St. Petersburg, and gosh, 16 years old, she's going to be on ABC on a new show. So a lot of nice talent coming out.
Well, you'll have to connect me with her to get her on in the fall to promote her show.
Lauren Arion, she's great.
All right. Well, let's come back to talk about what's happening with you. A saxophone player on American Idol. What is the world coming to?
I don't know. I think it was a lot of fun to get the call for sure. And they've had a lot of things on American Idol over the years. But I have to say, I've watched it pretty religiously, and I've never seen a sax solo. Yeah. So I don't know. I might be the first sax solo. Maybe I missed one, but I was very honored to get the call.
My wife seemed to recall, I guess one of the guys maybe having a harpist on, but couldn't really recall a saxophone player. And now, were you at all leery of doing American Idol, and this came about? I think I read Don Was had something to do with it.
Yeah, Don Was is such an amazing producer, amazing music maker. Plays, writes, produces. I've always been just a huge fan, and we had talked about him producing my last record, but his schedule was crazy, so it didn't work out in the time frame that we had hoped, because he was doing the Rolling Stones and all these, all these bands that paid a lot more than me. But what was cool was when he started doing American Idol and doing the tracks for the contestants on there, they ended up doing Old Time Rock and Roll, which has a very, very famous sax solo. So he ended up calling me and just saying, hey, would you like to do the show and, play on the track? And so, yeah, I said, absolutely.
And any interesting stories to tell about, the rehearsal?
I could see you read the Yahoo story, didn't you? Yeah, my first time on American Idol was a bit of a shock. I walked in to do rehearsal, because they do a dress rehearsal and then the show, and it's all live, so you kind of got to go with it. But the producer walked up and she took me by the shoulders and she goes, "I know exactly what we're doing. I know exactly what we're going to do." And I said, "Oh, okay," because all I knew was I was, doing the sax solo that I had recorded on the record live. And she goes, "I'm going to dress you up just like Tom Cruise. This song, it's movie week. Every song is from a movie. You are going to be Tom Cruise. We're going to put the Ray-Ban glasses on you. You're going to be in men's underwear. You're going to be in a big white shirt. You're going to slide in white socks, and it's going to be amazing." And I was horrified. I mean, you're kidding me. I can't play saxophone in men's underwear, and I'm definitely not going in front of 26 million people sliding in on socks. This is not, you've got the wrong girl. So she's just, "No, you've got to try it. You've got to try it. I've got the stylists to get all the stuff and just put it on, do it for dress rehearsal. And I mean, this is the producer for American Idol. You don't just tell them no, it's like I wanted to be a good sport about it, but yet I was horrified to even think about, going out there and playing in my underwear in front of the judges and the audience and everyone, So I said yes. I just said, okay, I'll do it for dress rehearsal, but I got no guarantees for the show. What I'm really hoping is that someone will see this and just say, there's no way. So I got in the whole get up and I went backstage. We were starting the dress rehearsal and almost every one of the contestants, the finalists were back there and they just looked at me and went, oh, no. No, they're not making you do that, are they?
Oh, God.
And, Paul McDonald was in his just cool suit. I don't know if you saw it, but he has these great, just sparkly, cool Nash Vegas suits. And he just looked at me. He goes, you are not wearing that. They are not making you do that, are they? And I said, I'm doing it for dress rehearsal, and hopefully someone higher up in the food chain will see it and just go, no, this is an awful idea. So I went out, played my heart out in my underwear. Well, not my underwear, guy underwear. It's awful. And thank goodness about 5 minutes later, I got the word from the producers saying, you can put on your real clothes again. So I did the show in my clothes, which is so much better than trying to look like Tom Cruise.
Well, now, it's been a while since I saw the movie. Was it boxers or briefs?
It was tighty-whiteys.
That's what I thought. I was thinking it was briefs, yeah.
Yeah, they gave me like little tighty-whiteys that came down the leg a little bit. They were awful.
And
I've worn underwear in my life. I don't want to do it in front of 26 million people.
Were the judges there for dress?
Oh, yeah. Huh? Yeah, they were sitting in front of me, which I've known Randy Jackson for years. I thought his eyes were going to pop out of his head. Like, what are you doing? I've got a long history of a jazz career and, making records and being respectable. Mm-hmm. It's not really in my nature to go out in underwear. So, yeah, I think it was it's a good story to tell the grandchildren.
And Stephen and Jennifer didn't have anything to say about it?
You know what? They don't comment on the dress rehearsal. They just kind of watch.
Steven Tyler had nothing to say about a saxophone player coming out in men's underwear? I'm astonished.
Not that I heard.
Okay.
Not that I heard. Not for my ears. It was not until I actually came out in my regular clothes that he asked who I was. It had something to do about the fact that he had seen me in underwear only a few hours earlier. I'm not sure.
I got it. Were you wearing your ring at the time?
My wedding ring?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just curious. Well, now that I've completely upset Aunt Becky by talking to you about wearing underwear on American Idol,
hanging out. Don't get that idea.
Well, let's take a quick break. Still plenty to talk about. This is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to and hopefully watching the Mr. Media interview with saxophonist Mindi Abair, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Williams. There's so many things kids have to be good at these days. It's hard to stop and think about how something like learning music can help them in the future. Music helps kids because it's a performing art, and children need to learn to perform well so they can succeed in society. Getting an 85% on a math test is pretty good, but hitting 85% of the right notes during a concert isn't good enough for most music students or their teachers. A special kind of practice and preparation goes into the discipline of performing music, and it helps kids develop habits that will allow them to perform better in all areas of their lives.
A PSA brought to you by MENC, the National Association for Music Education, and the National Anthem Project, the campaign to restore America's voice through music education. March is Music in Our Schools Month.
Hi, this is Raquel Welch. Yes, that Raquel. And I'd rather stick needles in my ears than listen to one more minute of Mr. Media Radio. Ugh.
This is Bob Andelman, and you're listening to and hopefully watching the Mr. Media interview with saxophonist Mindi Abair. And a funny thing happened while we took our break. Mindi, you got an interesting phone call, I understand.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. You said, oh, okay, I'm going to, get you right back. So I got a call from American Idol. And so basically they're putting together, I guess, some arrangements. They wanted to make sure of exactly what I played, the instrumentation and different doubles. As a saxophone player, you're kind of expected to double on a few instruments. I played tenor before, but I'm mostly an alto and soprano player. Play a little bit of flute. So I gave them that knowledge to arrange with. So he basically just got off the phone and said, okay, I'll call you next week.
Very cool. So you will be back, apparently.
Maybe. I mean, it would seem that way, but there was no confirmation you will definitely be on, but there was what exactly do you play so we could arrange it? So
Nice.
That's
yeah.
Cool.
Very much. So I was going to ask you when we came back from the break anyway, what impact can appearing on American Idol have on your career? Is it too soon to know, or do you have an idea already?
Well, I mean, it's very interesting. As someone who's made, a career in the jazz world, it's a microcosm. I mean, probably 2% of the population buys jazz records, None of us got into jazz to make $1 million. None of us got in thinking it was going to buy us big houses or any of that. I can say I just loved to play, and I wasn't great at anything else. And so I went into something I loved. So it's interesting. I'm used to being in front of an audience that's, the jazz audience, and they're huge fans of mine. But apart from that, a lot of people don't know my face or my music or what I do. And that's cool. I don't expect that. Being on American Idol, that kind of changes things.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, people who, had never listened to a jazz record in their life or never thought of going to a jazz concert, they all of a sudden knew my face or my name, or, and that's a crazy thing. It's been really fun. Kind of surprising. I'll go into a room and someone will say, hey, you're the girl from American Idol. I saw you. Oh my goodness. That was so cool. And, that doesn't happen a lot outside of, like I said, my little microcosm. Mm-hmm. So pretty cool. I like it. And who knows, what it means for my career as a whole, as you asked. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I know that my phone blew up every time. Every time I went on American Idol, my texts were just like, boom, 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 and my website crashed.
Wow.
After 75,000 hits that day, it just completely went down. My web guy had to call the company and say, okay, you got to put the bar up higher because we're going to have a lot of hits in the coming months. So, it's been kind of getting used to stuff like that. And I love that. So who knows what'll happen.
Has your manager been able to take advantage of that? I mean, is he or she getting calls for bookings? And
yeah, I had dinner with my agent the other night, and he goes, oh, yeah, I've gotten some calls for you to do, this or this or this. It kind of opens the door to different things, whereas, the usual calls they're getting are, can she play at this winery or this jazz festival? Right. It's a little bit different things. So, yeah, the press opportunities and and kind of opportunities for different music festivals and different things are kind of opening up and yeah, definitely taking advantage of that. I think anytime as an instrumentalist and get even kind of lower on the food chain, a woman instrumentalist, that you get that kind of opportunity, you definitely want to make the most of it. So we'll see what goes on in my future. But yeah, I think it can only be a really, really positive thing for me.
Cool.
And it was really fun.
Well, that's good. I'm very glad to hear that. And I know your friends back at Northeast Christian High School.
Northside Christian.
Northside Christian. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they are very proud of you indeed. But I wanted to back up a little bit. What causes a young girl to pick up the saxophone of all instruments?
My dad played sax.
Oh.
And, some kids have a dad who's a firefighter or a mom who's a nurse, and they want to, copy what their parents did. I grew up on the road with my dad's band. My dad had a band out of the Tampa Bay area called the Entertainers. And they just toured everywhere in the U.S. And so I was born basically on the road and grew up on the road. And, for the first probably 4 years of my life, we were just traveling. So we kind of moved back to our home base of St. Pete after the band broke up. But, I started school and they put a bunch of instruments out and I just thought, wow, Dad always looked like he was having a blast playing sax. I was 8 years old. You don't think deeper than that when you're 8. You just think, wow, Dad always looks like he's having a good time. It's cool. It's a loud instrument. I could be the loudest person in the band.
That's true.
I could rock out on that thing. I'm going to play that. So that's how I chose sax. And he never gave me lessons. I mean, my grandmother was an opera singer, and she taught piano. She taught vocals. And, I had all these musical people in my life. They didn't necessarily give me lessons, but I think osmosis, and just being around them and, listening and learning from them was a huge part of me becoming who I am.
Now, I'm thinking the saxophone, that takes some serious lungs, really. I mean, to wail on that like you do. You must have taken formal lessons at some point, right? No?
I had probably between the time I started sax when I was 8 and college, I probably had a handful of lessons. So not that many. My dad would bring me down to the local music store, bringing music. And, I'd go down and take a sax lesson. There was a guy named Bill Evans there. And I probably took a handful of lessons from him, and he was amazing. He didn't just teach you scales and arpeggios. He would make you swing the scale. And when you swung it the right way, he'd dance around the room. So he was good inspiration. He was a swing band leader. So
Nice.
Kind of taught me early on it's all about style. It's not just about your technique. It's about how you play. It's about the shapes you make from it. So, it really wasn't until college that I had, formal training that I'd go in for a weekly lesson. And I got to say that's a huge thing. I always tell kids, go in for lessons. Go in. You'll just get so much better, so much faster. I had that on piano. I would go in for a weekly lesson, and I took piano for a lot of years.
Oh, okay.
On sax, I was kind of renegade on my own.
So you must read music then, having taken piano all those years.
Oh, yeah. And I have a degree in woodwind performance from Berklee College of Music in Boston.
I completely forgot about that part, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've had the formal music training, obviously.
I'm legit now.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to ask you. So, and you made reference to how rare it is female playing saxophone. But and male musicians, they're generally known for being as sexist as about women playing in bands or in the industry in general as male comedians are about women in doing what they do. How did you overcome that? When did you overcome that, or have you overcome that, I guess? I've
never really carried that chip on my shoulder. I kind of ignored any of it. I've always felt that we're beyond that. I feel that if you're excellent at what you do, it really doesn't matter whether you're a woman or a man, black, white, anything. But you have to prove yourself, because as a woman, you're considered to be not as good as, of a musician. I think people are used to seeing male sax players and, oh, I bet that guy's good. He looks like Clarence Clemons. I bet he's good. Whereas if I walk in the room, they're like, oh, she was probably a cheerleader in high school. So they don't expect you to play saxophone or rock their world in any way on the saxophone. So I've always felt that if I go in and I do my thing and I play, I'll win someone over. So I always looked at it as more a quest. I remember my mom and dad came to a concert at one point, and they were sitting in the audience, and I came out kind of halfway through a song that the guitar player was playing. And when I walked out on stage, the girl sitting next to my mother in the audience, was in a big theater, she said, "What is that skinny little white girl doing on?"
Okay.
And my mom kind of shrunk down, like. So I played. I did my thing, and played. We finished the song, and it was that girl at the end of the song who is the first on her feet. And she got up on her feet. She starts clapping. She goes, "You go, you skinny little white girl! I love you, man. You go, girl!" And my mom was like, "Thank God,"
Wow.
So I think as a woman, you have to prove yourself. But whatever you do, if you go out and do it well, I think you can gain anyone's respect.
Do you can you point to a particular incident being that big break, that big moment that kind of changed the course of where your career was going to go?
I can't tell you one moment that changed my career. I can tell you a lot of little moments. And most people I know that have had any type of success that are my friends, probably it's the same journey. It's not one moment. It is that. It is life. It is a journey. And as a musician, just when you think, hey, I've kind of made it. Look at me. I've got a great gig. Then, maybe for the next couple months, no one calls you for something and you think, oh, I haven't made it. Oh, this isn't so good, But then the next thing will come along. Hey, this is great. I went through a lot of that early on. I moved out to L.A., and it's tough to kind of take over the music industry in L.A. when you're new. No one would hire me. They had their cats that they were hiring. So I started playing on the street, and I played and put my case out, and I got to say that snowballed for me into a lot of different shows. An incredible jazz pianist, Bobby Lyle, walked by when I was playing on the street at one point and just stopped and listened for a while, and he said, "Wow, I should hire you. I should hire you for my band." He sure enough did. He took me on the road and used me on his next record, and that let me meet people. That allowed me to kind of branch out and learn. And I got to say, that was one of the things that was a turning point in my career. But there have been many, and in between those great things, going on the road with Adam Sandler and making a record with him, then there were a couple months of me not working and thinking, oh, maybe this was just a one-time thing. What's going to happen? But just when I thought I was going to have to, who knows, go get a real job, the Backstreet Boys called, and I was on the road for the next year and a half with them, So, yeah, I think it's a journey. It's many things that have brought me to this point. Many people I have to thank for giving me a chance. Many people I have to look back and go, they helped me. That was a defining moment,
And Did I also read that you had played? Was it on tour or in studio with Duran Duran?
Yeah, I did the Comeback to America tour a few years ago when they reunited, the whole band with all the original members, and it was phenomenal. What an amazing band! I'm such a fan. But I've been friends with John Taylor, the bass player for Duran Duran, for many years, and he's been a part of my music and my records, which he's unbelievable. Just his writing, his musicality, just where he feels music. I'm honored anytime I get to make music with him. So for most of my records, you'll see a song that John Taylor wrote with me.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, my first record, It Just Happens That Way, he co-wrote the title track with me and played on it. And then I needed background vocals. I did a cover of Save Tonight. I said, I need like one other voice. I don't need it to be a section or a choir. So he goes, well, let me try it. So he went back in and sang. So it's him that you hear on the record. And he's done a lot with me. FLA Swing on my Lifeless Ordinary CD, played and wrote that with me.
Wow. Well, sometime off air, I will have to, and when my daughter is not lurking about, I will have to tell you my John Taylor story, which is only incidentally a John Taylor story, but it involves him. And it was after they made their first U.S. tour, and they played Lakeland, which I'm sure you know, the old Lakeland Civic Center. But I'll have to tell you that off air. I can't tell that on air.
I got a few of those stories too about different people. Yeah.
Well, we can share
things
those.
You just can't tell on air. What happens on the road stays on the road.
Yeah. Okay. I mentioned in the opening to the show kiddingly about Clarence Clemons and David Sanborn, Coltrane. Whose style, other than your dad, obviously, has influenced you over the years in terms of the way you play or the way you want to play or be heard?
Yeah. I've always liked those sax players that had, a big sound and a lot of soul. I never wanted to be the bebop person flying through a bunch of scales and notes, and that was never my intention. I liked the Clarence Clemons of the world. I loved Maceo with James Brown's band.
Of course.
I mean, he could make you just groove on one note, just bounce around one note, and you were his. Junior Walker, I always wanted to dance when I heard him play. Just such a big sound and just made me smile every time I heard him play. Of the jazz guys, I'm a huge Cannonball Adderley fan. Mm-hmm. I think his approach is incredible. He was enough of the jazz Charlie Parker kind of, influence, but he had that Earl Bostic and real R&B sensibility to him that it was just a lot of soul you heard come through that horn. Big sound. Wayne Shorter was a huge influence on me. I loved the fact that he didn't play licks. He was just a very, he was a very linear player. You could almost see shapes for me in what he was playing. I could just kind of follow these shapes that he was making with his saxophone. It's beautiful when he plays. So, and you mentioned David Sanborn, which he kind of brought it all together for me. I had heard different people play, but I was kind of a rocker girl when I was a kid and listened to a lot of rock pop radio. Mm-hmm. But I played saxophone in the school band, and then I heard David Sanborn, and he kind of brought those two worlds together. I mean, his music completely rocked for me, like the pop and rock bands that were out there, but he was playing saxophone, and he was screaming on it like Tina Turner was singing. So I couldn't sing like Tina Turner, so shoot, I was going to play sax like she sang, or scream like I heard James Brown screaming. I could do it on sax, and David Sanborn was the first person who tipped me off to the fact that, sax can be that. It's a huge voice, So he was a huge influence, and I've been lucky enough to meet him and play with him in the past, and it was just such an honor. I'm a huge fan.
Well, I know we've got to kind of start wrapping up. I want to ask you, I believe tomorrow you're heading to Japan? Is that
I am.
What's happening in Japan?
I go over there. I played the Blue Note a couple of years ago. I did an all-girl band with Sheila E.
Wow.
And a couple other girls, Rhonda, who's played with Prince for years, and Cassandra and Kat Dyson. Just an amazing kind of super group of women, beautiful musicians. You know, they were just such talents. I was honored to be there with them. And anytime you get to do the Blue Note in Tokyo, that's an honor. There's another club in Tokyo called the Cotton Club, which is the one that we're playing this week. We're doing 3 nights there. And it's me and a guitarist that I work with a lot, Peter White. And Peter played for years with Al Stewart. He did the Year of the Cat record with him. And he's since made, I think I've lost count of how many solo records he's made. But he's just a beautiful musician. So we're taking a band over there and doing 3 nights at the Cotton Club. And I love being in Japan. It's a tough time to go over right now because they've gone through so much in the past couple months. But we're going to play some music for them and hopefully make them forget about the badness for a little while.
They probably need that entertainment right about now.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so, you know.
You described that all-girl band, and I was thinking, hey, you should get that group together and tour over here. I'm thinking, I tell you what, as the father of a teenage girl who is leaning heavily to wanting to play guitar, in bands and stuff, I'm thinking that's the kind of thing that girls, that age need to see. They need to see a band of really solid musicians playing for the music, not to do the Pussycat Dolls thing, just to actually play for the music.
I mean, going out there, playing their instruments, getting down. Yeah, that's what this band was, and I was inspired just being a part of it. So I can imagine, someone growing up and, seeing, hey, these girls are the real thing. I could do that.
Yeah.
I always think it's fun to show that to the younger generation. I didn't have many girls to look up to as instrumentalists. I looked up to a lot of singers and artists, but as an instrumentalist, shoot, if we could inspire anyone in the younger generation to kind of, see things a different way or follow their dream or, know that it's all right to do what they love for a living, that's a good thing.
Put that group together and get back to me, okay?
On that, I'm going to put that in my pipe and smoke it.
That would be cool. And then, do I understand finally that you are working on a new album? I'm writing for a new record, which is working on it. Okay. I'm not officially in the studio, like making it happen. But I'm getting together with a lot of different friends and kind of writing and seeing what it sounds like. Because each record of mine is very different, kind of different places in my life, different approaches musically. And, it's kind of what's in my head and what I'm inspired by, what comes out each time. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what the different songs become. I've written, probably 15 songs or so. I usually write about 30 before I go in the studio and kind of decide on a collection of them. So we'll see. I'm kind of on my way, and it's fun what we're coming up with so far. And we should mention that the song you did with Paul McDonald, Old Time Rock and Roll, that's available as a single. People can buy that on iTunes, right? Yeah, you can buy all the American Idol stuff on iTunes and get the videos, which is, so much fun. But yeah, the song that I did with Casey Abrams and the song that I did with Paul McDonald are up on iTunes. What was the song with Casey? Because I did not see that one. I missed that one. Heidi-Ho. Heidi-Ho. Oh, cool. King song, yeah. And it was just, it was a really fun performance. He was all over the place. You should get the video of the live performance because that's where the fun is. Well, maybe you can go to my website, too. I've got some pictures and links of different things. I think the YouTube video for Paul McDonald, it's almost 1 million hits now. It's just crazy how many people have viewed that video. And it was fun. I get it. Very exciting. Well, folks, listen, you can learn more about Aunt Becky's favorite saxophone player, niece Mindi Abair, at her website, which she just mentioned. It's MindyAbair.com, MINDIABAIR.com. And if you want more than that, you can also download her free iPhone app, which I'm going to have my wife do. So we've given the website. Are you on Twitter or Facebook?
I'm on Twitter, just Mindi Abair, one word, Facebook, Mindi Abair Music.
Very good.
So, I usually tweet and, I tweet a lot. Facebook's usually probably once a day or something. I'll send out pictures from the road or, like I was just at Newport Beach Jazz Festival this weekend, sitting in with Trombone Shorty and watching Dave Caw's show or taking pictures of our thing backstage. So I always kind of put up fun pictures of what we're doing and where we're going. It's fun.
It's a nice website. Got a lot going on there.
Thank you. Yeah, we think it's fun to keep everyone up on the latest, kind of put all the adventures up there so people can share in it.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, I'll point out, too, before I forget, that you can also join the Mindi Abair fan club at her website. So do that.
That just gets you backstage.
Oh. I will join that
backstage and gets you a few cool items and stuff. But, yeah, we always have people from the fan club come backstage after the shows or before the shows and kind of hang out for a second. So
nice. Very nice. Well, Mindi, it was a pleasure to get to meet you and talk to you. I can see why Aunt Becky likes you so much.
She has to like me. She's my aunt.
Well,
there's a family thing that
okay. I didn't want to point that out, but yeah, okay. True. Yeah. But
I love that, that she's now putting me out there for interviews and stuff. It's good. It's good to have an agent, in an aunt.
Good to have someone looking out for you there.
There he is.
But thank you, thank you so much for being on Mr. Media today. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Well, and folks, for more original interviews with America's favorite singers and musicians, of course, you can surf over to our main website, mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. And if you've enjoyed today's show, subscribe for free to Mr. Media via email, RSS, or iTunes, and you'll never miss a show. You can also listen with a piece of string and a tin can in many parts of St. Petersburg. Trust me, I've tried. It works. And show your support of Mr. Media by supporting our sponsors, including Audible. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook. We're also supported by thepartyauthority.us. Call DJ Ira for all your party entertainment needs nationwide at 1-800-DIAL-DJs or visit their website, thepartyauthority.us. If you've got an idea for a guest, a comment on today's show, or would like to advertise on Mr. Media, send me an email directly at bob@mrmedia.com. You can also follow Mr. Media on Facebook, on Twitter, or our new YouTube video channel. Thanks so much for joining us today. Always appreciate when you give up a little piece of your day and spend it with us. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody. Bye, Mindi.
Bye.
Thank you. That was great. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thanks for
Hey, did you know that you can listen to the latest Mr. Media on your phone with the Stitcher app? Stitcher is smart radio for your smartphone. Mr. Media is on demand and on the go with Stitcher. Download Stitcher for your phone today. Get the free download at Stitcher.com. That's STITCHER.com.